Hello guys, today we will be reviewing Jujutsu Zero.
Fighting God!
I wanted to review this game before all the updates that happened to it, but now there are things like investigations, there are things like there's new clans, Hakuri was added, Awakened Kashima was added, of course new codes, new AFK rewards, and there's even a new kind of event that's going on, which is St. Patrick's Day. And this is a pretty cool event. The Valentine's event, for those of you who know, has ended, unfortunately. And I feel like, in my opinion, the Valentine's event was too little, maybe, because it didn't give that much of rewards, and at the same time, it was really hard to grind for it, kind of. Like, right now, the St. Patrick's event is way easier to grind, and in one day I was able to get like most of what it had to offer. So yeah, and I got the hang of it like pretty easily. So it's a way better event in my opinion than the Valentine's event. Now, real quick, for those of you who already know, the new gear, which is the Patrick Collectible X, is way better than the Love Collectible X, at least from my experience. It has way more attack and it works better for me. So that's a quick intro into the game's events and updates. But this video, I'm going to be reviewing the game generally. For starters, Jujutsu Zero is a game based off Jujutsu Kaisen, as you guys already know. There's a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen based games on Roblox nowadays, given the fact that Season 3 is coming out, the Culling games, and a lot of people have been playing these Jujutsu Kaisen games. One of them is Jujutsu Zero, as you guys can see now, and I got into this game after my friend Anti-Mod. You guys know him from my previous video. He got me into this game, and I got addicted to it. What can I say? It's generally a bandit beater, where you just grind your way up, and so far I've played a very good amount of bandit beater games. So I can tell you from my experience with Jujutsu Zero that this is a really well made bandit beater game. A lot of people hate bandit beaters and the concepts of it, but sometimes bandit beaters are just there to help you zone out while grinding, you know. Extreme bandit beaters, on the other hand, are horrible, like Rogue before the quests were out, when you had to grind the NPCs for like 6 months. That's just a horrible bandit beater with no other quests or goals to achieve other than the fact of getting a specific weapon to get good at PvP and then like enter some competitions or enter the league. In this game, however, there is a goal, and there are multiple goals as a matter of fact, and they're still working on more goals as I speak. I wanted to make this review video of Jujutsu Zero approximately like a month ago, give or take, and this game in 1 month was able to release more than average amount of updates, which keeps its community alive, and honestly, it's a really good game. I mean, that's why I got addicted to it in the first place. If you're really determined to get better, you just grind and you research, and there are very interesting aspects to the research part of this game, in the Trello, or like how to get a specific build, etc. It has very interesting aspects, and generally for supposedly a beta game, or a beta version of this game, this is really good. So, how do we play the game? You're gonna start as a sorcerer back in the village, which is right over here. There's a map here, okay. And you're gonna have to do quests going up in level. Now, the max level currently is 5,999, and that's pretty achievable if, you could say, you abuse your passion for the game or your addiction for the game before it like burns out. For starters, you're gonna start at spawn, and then you're gonna go up the quests. As you guys can see in the map, you have the level 1 quest, and then 15, and then you slowly go on this path, 25 to 40, 55 to 70, and on the way there are teleport waypoints, And this game has a lot of similarities to Genshin, which is technically the teleport waypoints, and the gear, which is similar to artifacts in Genshin. And also you have Ascensions. So the gear, you can ascend it, you know. Also there is a pulling system there are banners for curse techniques, which reset every 2 hours or 3 hours, I'm not sure. And you can grind lovely Lumas for them. Now, the grind is pretty easy once you start. Personally, before all of these updates, when I got into this game approximately 2 months ago, I got to level 2000 in a week. And by then, 2000 was technically endgame. You know, I achieved 90% of what the game has to offer, and 90% of what I wanted to achieve in the game. Aside these normal quests that you have to do, eventually you can expand onto like evolution or other quests where you can get a weapon or a curse technique or a gear, etc. And there are builds in the game too, like Heavenly Restriction, Sorcery Heavenly Restriction. There's even the normal build if you don't want to really do much damage, depends on you. And the mechanisms in the game are pretty neat, like Q for dashing and amount of stamina where you can build it in your stat tree, right over here. You have the offense, sorcery, vitality, and the evolve, which is technically endgame stat tree. You have techniques you can get a lot of techniques, and there are constellations for them. That's another similarity to Genshin. You have mastery of techniques, where the more you use a technique, the more mastery you get for it. Weapons mastery exists too, where the more you use a weapon, etc. And generally that's about it. And the more you get into the game, the more you play the game, the more you're gonna understand. For me personally, you could say learned information sources were from YouTube videos and the Trello, specifically the Trello. Just a side note for all game developers, if you're gonna make a game like this, or any game as a matter of fact, that requires information and is a grinding game, please keep your Trello updated. And yeah, that would be very useful. So the 3 builds in the game are Heavenly Restriction, where you can trade your cursed energy and cursed techniques for basically physical strength and the sole use of weapons, right? Like me right now, I'm actually a Heavenly Restriction build. I use the Inverted Spear of Heaven and the Soul Splitting Katana. Or you can be a Sorcery Heavenly Restriction, where you sacrifice your HP and your use of weapons for more damage with your cursed techniques, and I believe more cursed energy as well. So yeah, or you can go just normal build, where you can use 2 cursed techniques and 1 weapon of your choice. I have a lot of comments regarding the aspects of the game. Nothing really to hate on, just a bunch of useful criticism, you could say. So for starters, for physical Heavenly Restriction, I believe we should at least have a 3rd weapon, because currently there are not a lot of weapons in the game. Including those weapons, you have the normal katana, which is the first weapon you can get your hands on in early game, and the second one is the Dragon Ball. The Dragon Bone katana, which is Maki's weapon. Personally, I thought the Dragon Bone would be extremely overpowered, but it turns out it's not that overpowered, you know. So you have the Festering Life Sword, you have the Soul Splitting, or the Split Soul Katana, Inverted Spear of Heaven, and Niori Staff, which is the newest weapon we have. So given the fact that we don't have a lot of weapons, let alone the best weapons in the game, so the best weapons in the game are these 3, to my experience so far. I haven't tried out the Niori Staff because I wasn't able to, since I needed Cursed Energy, and currently I'm on a Heavenly Restriction build, so I cannot use Cursed Energy. The rotation with these 2 weapons that I'm using is pretty good. There's a very short general cooldown for both weapons during my rotation. There are multiple rotations, obviously, but I feel like it would be very cool if I can use 3 weapons at the same time, given the fact it's physical Heavenly Restriction, given the fact that I can't use Cursed Energy or Cursed Techniques. That would be a very nice addition. Maybe we can add something like you have to achieve a specific level, or do a specific quest to unlock a third weapon slot, that would be extremely useful for me, at least in my opinion, given the fact that I'm using physical heavenly restriction. Aside from that, physical heavenly restriction works like a charm. At least right now, if it's not the top best build, it has to be at the very least the second best build in the game. It does a lot of damage, and I can one-shot like most of the raid bosses and most of the NPCs with my weapons. I do a lot of damage. One skill with my Soul Splitting Katana does 1.4 million, which is pretty insane. So other than that, I have no other comments about physical heavenly restriction, and also the fact that I paired it with the Toji clan. Moving on to the next build, Sorcery Heavenly Restriction. I feel like with Sorcerer Heavenly Restriction, the same kind of idea applies, where maybe we can use 3 curse techniques instead of 2, right? I know we buff our damage with swords in Physical Heavenly Restriction, and we buff our damage with curse techniques in Sorcery Heavenly Restriction, but I still feel like we can add a third slot to both restrictions. I can take it if even it means that I can't do as much damage, or I don't get as much of a damage buff with a restriction. I would still take that. And the last thing is a normal build. The normal build allows me to use 2 curse techniques and 1 weapon, which is, in my opinion, very fair. My only comment about it is the fact that I don't do a lot of damage compared to physical or sorcery heavenly restriction, which kind of sucks. So you're kind of forced into getting a restriction whether you like it or not, because you kind of have to do a lot of damage to one-shot the new raid bosses. So it's really up to you. I feel like we can really work on the builds in this game. Moving on to the gears, I believe. Now, the techniques here are pretty cool. For a beta version, they're like top tier techniques, in my opinion. The weapons, the same thing. I believe though, for the weapons, we kind of need at least 5 more weapons to include, right? That would be extremely useful. For the techniques, really not much comments there, not much criticism I have towards it. Maybe a bit more techniques like 3 or 4 or 5, but we already have a lot of good techniques, and given the fact that I only got techniques or used techniques in early game, because eventually after level 1000 I switched to heavenly physical restriction, and I never switched back then. At least I did a couple of times, but then I just switched back to physical heavenly restriction because I was trying to test if sorcery heavenly restriction was good, but it was not for me, you could say. Moving on to gears. The gear concept is extremely fun and extremely useful. But a side comment regarding myself, not really the game, is that when I do test the gears, is that at the beginning I thought I was a mathematical genius, right? And I was just looking at the stats, and I was kind of making my own calculations, but then I remembered why I suck at math, because apparently whatever I have calculated of gears and gear sets are not the ones doing the most damage. So I moved on to the next thing, which is trial and error. So I kept trying new sets and the sets that I had, and I was basically making use of the cards that I had, basically. And turns out the Maki set is extremely useful, at least for me. Maybe because I'm a physical heavenly restriction user, I'm not sure. But so far, it has been working as a charm for me. I even tried to pair, let's say, the Love X with any of my red/calamity gears, but they never really did that much damage. So for example, that's with my crit, you can say, but you guys already saw I do 1.4 million damage. Now, assuming we remove the Zenin artifact and we add the Love X collectible, and we, okay, 1.3 million. So I'm not sure if it's because of the level, I'm not sure if it's because of the set bonus, but the best way to know what set or what gears are best for you is by trial and error. It doesn't really take you that much time, and it's really worth it in the end. Like, if you take 10 to 15 minutes out of your time to test gear sets, you're gonna know which gear set does the most damage. Another comment I wanted to make was the grinding of the Ascension materials. Ascension materials are the hardest thing for me to grind in this game. Like, for example, gear Ascension, right? So if I want to ascend my Love X collectible to, let's say, level 25, I can't, because I need to grind the elite rank supply, which means I have to grind the infinite raids, and the same thing goes for my weapons. So if I wanted to level up my weapon or ascend it, I also have to grind not infinite raids, but like normal quests, you can say. So I feel like regarding these Ascension materials, we can do better, at least add a bit more drop rates to that, because honestly, it's personally just horrendous to keep grinding infinite raids, which come every 40 minutes or 1 hour, and to grind the highest quest, which is over here, and just keep repeating the process, and the fact that it only gives me one curse crate, and every curse crate has a 20% chance to give me a valuable crate. And a valuable crate is exactly what I need to get a weapons XP or weapons rank up material. So here I just do this quest and I repeat it 500 times to get 500 crates, because every time I finish it, it just gives me one curse crate. I feel like the grind here could be a bit more improved in that regard. Maybe 2 curse crates, maybe add a higher level quest, or maybe even add them in a specific raid, etc. We can like play around with those kind of things. Another thing is the daily quests. We can do, instead of 5 daily quests, we can do 10. I feel like that would be way more useful. And if not, we can also address this fact, which is the difficulties. So there are 3 difficulties, no problem. My problem is that each difficulty has 3 tasks. So if I do finish these 3 expert level tasks, I have to switch to hard, which gives less rewards, which gives me 3 crates instead of 4. So the sum of the crates that I get, the daily crates, are 18. And I feel like it's not really worth it if we're doing like dailies, you know. Maybe we can add the rewards a bit more, or work towards the daily quests in general, in terms of improvement. Since the game is in beta, it has a lot of like bugs and glitches, which is very understandable. The game is very nice though, like for a beta. Then again, it's a beta. You have to keep remembering that. A lot of improvements can be made, specifically towards the grinding process. Maybe balance it or rework it in one way or another. The reward system as well can use some reworks or balancing. And I feel like by then the game would be really good. Specifically the fact that, as I mentioned, the curse crates and as well as the daily quest crates. The fact that I have to grind a lot of infinite raids and I have to grind a lot of that fighter boss to get level up crates for my weapon and my gears, for example, for the infinity raid. But yeah, I do have faith in the fact that I feel like the game devs for this game are going to do wonders. They've proven it by updating the game on a weekly basis, if not on a very regular basis. For a beta game, then again, that is really good. And I believe Jujutsu 0 has a lot of potential and is one of the most fun Jujutsu Kaisen games that I've played on Roblox. One other thing is the fact that when I do a daily quest, I literally get one shot by the NPCs. So for example, if I do a capture, So I can one-shot the NPCs, but at the same time they can one-shot me because they do 16,000 damage per hit, which is really insane, right? We can perhaps like do something about the amount of damage the NPC does to us, because that's pretty crazy, you know. A random NPC just one-shots you. It's at end game level technically. I'm level 3,500. So yeah, maybe we can like work on the NPCs a bit more, perhaps expand the quests. And yeah, that's my general review of the game. Currently what's going on is the St. Patrick's event, and a quick summary slash overview of what you can do is you can grind Cursed Gojo, which spawns every 7 minutes, and he can drop the Gojo sunglasses, and you don't really need it because it has insane stats, which is 100,000 or 10,000 crit damage rate and negative 100,000 or 10,000 attack, which sucks, by the way, at least in my opinion. I mean, I haven't tried it out yet. And you can also do the new infinite raid, where you can grind the clover coins. Another thing is the wheel, where you can gamble and try to get the Patrick's new clan. Now, you don't really need this for endgame or for any reason at all, but if you got it, you know, good for you. And the reason I want to get it is just because it's limited. You know, whatever is limited for me, I would love to have that. Same goes with the Gojo sunglasses. For the spin wheel, you can use lumens or clovers to spin on it. In my opinion, just grind lumens, it's way easier. The quests here are pretty good for a one-time thing, that's it. And then you can just like from then on grind specifically the infinite raid to get clover coins, St. Patrick's Gojo, and the investigations, because investigations gave you clover coins too. And yeah, the rewards are pretty cool. You can go to the reward shop here, and these are the rewards you can get, which are pretty cool. The clover crate drops you the new Patrick's set, gear set, and yeah, it's a pretty cool event in my opinion. That's for the event. Regarding the game itself, there is just investigations where they have improved it. It's pretty cool. I feel like there's still a lot of work that can be done on investigations, but I have no comment on it so far because it's not bad and it's new, so I can't really criticize it as much. We can lean more on the word itself, investigations, because so far in investigations all you do is like kill a bunch of NPCs, kill a bunch of bosses, discover some hidden rooms, and the process itself, it can get boring and it's not that fun. But that's my only comments about investigations, although the rewards are pretty cool. Same thing again, we can really work on the rewards part of this and increase it a bit more, maybe increase the difficulty. That would be really cool. But then again, investigations is a new part of the game and it's undergoing a lot of development still, which is fair enough, so I can't really criticize it that much. Regarding the raids, in terms of the game itself, we have the new raid boss, which is Awakened Kashimo, which drops you a new gear set, and I still haven't tried it yet because it's really hard to grind generally. But yeah, I might grind him a bit later and see how this set is. I believe it's pretty good, but so far the soul set from Maki is the best set for me. They also added more difficulties to Maki and they kind of like finalized her raid system, adding new difficulties, which is pretty cool. And yeah, this is the new raid boss regarding game development once again. And that's about it for Jujutsu 0. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next video.